We got a secret dance room. Jazz hands.
Good grief. Hey, are you ready to get to work?
That was a lot of work.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Hi all. Let's see, if you missed the previous videos, go check them out. We're going to be talking about our ceiling project, the fabric ceiling project. And I thought we would do kind of two segments. First segment is our thoughts on the actual project, actually doing the ceiling with fabric. And then the second part will be the kind of the final results, what we think of the final results. It's been done for about a month-ish now, so we've been kind of, living with it for about a month. So we thought we'd talk about that. Make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
Okay, all right. If you're new around here, here's a quick introduction, just in case you're new, as to who we are. Hi there. We're Matt and Stacy. We recently bought an off-grid property in beautiful West Virginia. We've been busy making this property our own little slice of paradise, adding in a few modern conveniences, having fun learning all of the construction trades, and converting a pole barn into our future home. This channel is about my passion for painting with a torch and wax, and about our passion for adventure and taking risks. Consider subscribing and join this creative community. And don't forget, hit that thumbs up button if you're enjoying the video. So, what's your thoughts on the project itself? Like working on the project, doing the project?
I want a scissor lift permanently.
Watch, you're gonna, okay.
There, I feel better now. Did I mention how fun this thing is? It's a lot of fun. Guys, if you haven't had one, get one. Even if you don't have projects, just get one.
Just drive it around.
Having equipment is awesome.
Yes. Any other thoughts?
That was it.
That's it? That's your only thought? Okay.
No, I'm glad it's done. It was a project we put off for a long time. Had a lot of troubleshooting. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into, obviously what we think about it and this and that. But the project itself was it was a challenge. It was one that we couldn't really find resources as to where other people have done it before or this or that. So we just kind of had to free think a lot of it, prepare a lot. I think you've done videos on the more prep than anything else too, because, just even get it ready. And one of our biggest issues was our rafters are 4-foot spacing. So they're not 16 on centers or anything like that. They're just pole barn rafters. And instead of adding infrastructure across after the spray foam and everything was already done, we were kind of limited in our options. We couldn't do a true traditional ceiling. Certainly weren't going to put drywall up there or anything like that. We probably could have done we've seen a lot of the metal roofing ceilings, like the siding as a ceiling, which looks good, but it's definitely more barn or workshop. And I don't think we wanted that. So the idea of the fabric, it worked out. It was challenging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, I'm guessing, so we worked over this over 2 weekends and one long weekend, plus several workday evenings. So what is that? 3, 5, 7 full days, and some of those days were 12-hour days. They were long days. And then a couple evenings. But we also did some prep work, like Matt said. We applied some extra kind of, not bracing's not the right word, but some extra beams to go across there to attach fabric to. And then we also installed some lights over that time. And some of that time was also just kind of really thinking through the process and figuring out things like that. But it was definitely, fabric was more difficult to deal with or to work with than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's not rigid, and of course we're trying to get all the seams and
Right.
not the seams, but seams to line up, but then like not have folds. And the reality is, I think we were trying to be too much of a perfectionist in the way the fabric looks versus just letting it hang freely and allowing for the wrinkles and all that kind of stuff. In hindsight, probably would have looked more. I don't know. I mean, it looks decent, but yeah, it was just a challenge. That's all.
I think it was the first project too that I think we were both somewhat frustrated with, even more so than like drywall or other projects that we've done. Because going into it, we knew we had done a little bit of drywall in the past, and we knew that drywall is kind of a pain, if you will, to sand and install and get smooth. But having never really worked with fabric in this nature, I've sewn before, but I've never worked with fabric in this nature. We had no idea what to expect, and I think we were both going into it kind of excited about the project. And then as the project got further and further along, we both, I think, got a little bit more frustrated with it. And then we also, because we got that scissor lift, we had it for a total, it was a long weekend, so they let us have it for 3 days. But we were on a deadline with it. And yes, we could have extended the rental, but Matt really didn't want to do that.
I'm too cheap.
Yeah.
Frugal.
Frugal is the better word. And that kind of, we butted heads a little bit on that, because throughout this whole process, this whole Barndominium process, I always said, if anything gets to be too much, gets to be too frustrating, we need to take a step back. We need to relook at it. We guess we're working on the barn ourselves to save money from contractors, but I never wanted this process to not be enjoyable. And I think at some point in time, that kind of the last day of this project, because we were on such a tight time frame and we still were struggling with the fabric, it became not enjoyable, and it became a project that we just needed to get done and get through. And I never wanted it to do that, but we got through it and it got done.
Yeah, I think that was the key for where we go in different directions, because we both felt, okay, this is a project we just need to get done and get through. So to me, that means I'll work all night long if I have to, where you still want to just have that time to quit and relax, or not relax, but just refresh in a sense. And, you know, I'm the personality where I'll just work until it gets done. And that's where we probably had our first clash, we'll call, of it.
Yeah.
It was deadline driven, and I'm just grind and get it done. And I'm a night person too, so it's like I could literally just stay up all night and work. And there were nights like we'd stop at like 8 o'clock, and I'd be like, "Why are we stopping? Like, let's keep going. It's only 8 o'clock."
Because I had been up at 5:30 in the morning preparing dinner and the rest of the day's stuff, and you know, that's why.
We have different schedules, we'll say.
Yes.
Anyway.
So, yeah. So that's kind of anything else to add about?
Glad we're still married.
Yes, we made it through. Anything else to add about the project itself, completing the project, doing the project?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think we're talking more negatively that it was, frustrating, but I don't even know that it was frustrating, the project. I actually enjoyed the project itself. It was frustrating, the timeline. There was other events going on as well and things like that. But at the same time, it was like, I thought it came together well. Like once we started framing, around the outside, we have like a sloped tent-ish kind of thing or whatever. But to do that, we had to add bracing, and then we decided 2 feet or so was the right marking, or 25 inches or something like that, to give us proper spacing in the middle of the ceiling as well. So to do that, we literally had to add bracing between all of the trusses. Are they trusses or rafters? I don't know. But we had to add bracing there, and like once that all framed out, we had to add bracing for the lighting, electrical we had to redo, and like I actually thought a lot of that stuff went really well. The wrapping the fabric around where the lights come through it, those were all challenging because again, it's wrinkling the fabric, and we're trying to keep fabric straight, so that was a challenge in itself. But I think if we would have just let it go and be more free with it, it probably would have been fine. Like, I mean, that's, we kind of ended up doing anyway, but it's like, I don't know, in my mind, it was like, oh, these have to be perfect swoops and they have to be no wrinkles and blah, 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 blah. And coincidentally, I look back now and where it's wrinkled, it looks better. So hindsight, next time we do it, it'll,
Yes. And if you guys have any questions on how we did it, I'm happy to answer them. You can drop them down there below in the comments if you want further explanation. I don't think we went into a whole lot of explanation on it, but just for sake of maybe keeping this video kind of concise, we won't go into great detail of it, but basically we had straight runs going all the way across the two long sides and the back wall, just straight run of fabric, and then we cut pieces of fabrics to go in between the rafters to swoop, and those were all individual pieces of fabric. We took boards that we initially thought we were going to see and painted all of them, and then changed our mind that we weren't going to see those. So if you're wondering why we painted all those boards, we initially thought we were going to staple the fabric up and then put those boards so you're going to see the boards. But what we ended up doing is wrapping that trim and then stapling it up so that all you saw was the fabric, not the trim. But
yeah, it was a much cleaner look. Mm-hmm. And our paint choice was terrible. Like, we tried to match the fabric, and when it dried on the boards, it was horrible.
It didn't look right at all. But
the good news is we only wasted like $18. Well, we didn't waste. We used it. But
right.
We did not. We thought about buying actual trim to put up there. And if you guys have shot for trim's pretty expensive. I mean, it would have been hundreds of dollars of trim. Well, instead, we bought a 4x8 sheet of hardboard and cut it into 1-inch strips, knowing that, gosh, this is 20, 30 feet up in the air. Who's going to see it? We just need to see it painted. And turns out we didn't use it for that anyway, and just wrapped them, which worked. That actually worked really well.
It did. But again, this was all like figuring out kind of on the fly and how we went, and which I think is why the project took us so many hours, because we probably spent more time figuring things out as we went along than we did on the actual install, in a way. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's 50-50 at least. But anyways, how would you do it again?
Yes, because it's a good alternative mm-hmm. to a ceiling, and honestly fairly inexpensive. Even the fabric we bought, what was it, 53 yards a roll. So
and there's 4
we
rolls.
Bought 212 yards of fabric for this, and it was not that expensive. Coincidentally, we found a shop that was going out of business, and this lady was awesome. So that worked out well. I think we got somewhat of a discount. Mm-hmm. She did order it, so it's not like we were buying stock that she was selling. She did order it. But in either case, it was actually fairly inexpensive. It is like a fire-rated fabric, too, mm-hmm. so that's kind of nice to know. I mean, it's still fabric, so I would assume it would have a melting point or whatever, but so it actually is pretty decent for that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
You'd do it again?
Yeah, that was the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, because I don't know what the alternative was.
Mm-hmm. I would too.
We'll talk about other ideas. So this originated from our initial thought. Stacy and I got engaged in a hot air balloon years and years and years ago. So it was one of those, we thought, well, let's use the fabric from a hot air balloon, which we did look at, actually. Mm-hmm. They had that type of fabric. I don't remember what it's called. But it didn't have the right colors or whatever that we were looking for, so we didn't do that. But we actually thought that migrated to old rectangular parachutes, like use the nylon type of parachute fabric and have different colors and all this kind of stuff. In the end, we just went with a pretty solid greenish gray that we didn't really want to highlight it necessarily.
It blends in nicely.
Yeah,
so.
we just needed to cover it. Yeah, so I like the choice of color, and I like the choice of what we did rather than the alternative. And then we also thought like those big triangular patio tent kind of canvas things that you see at like bars and outdoor patios and things like that. We actually thought about doing that in a whole bunch of different angles and shapes or whatever. I think that would have been a cool look, but
that would have been very expensive when I started looking at prices in that, and to cover this whole. To give you an idea, the pole barn is what, 40 by 24?
20 something, yeah.
I think 40 by 24. So it's a massive, ceiling space. And so that would have been quite expensive to do. So we ruled that out. But yeah, but it was worth doing.
Yeah, there's definitely other ideas, but the fabric, the way it turned out. And now we have the infrastructure. So when we tear it down, we can easily do it again.
Right. So, what was I going to say? Pros, cons to it, not to the project, but to having fabric on the ceiling. Do you have any?
Pros, it covers the spray foam.
Yes.
So we're not staring at spray foam.
And I think it's kept prior to having the ceiling covered, we seem to be pretty kind of dusty, especially more upstairs. And I just think that's the nature of maybe exposed spray foam, although we weren't getting like necessarily pieces of spray foam, only when we worked on projects. But I don't know, I think that's more
because we live by a dirt road and people fly by and there's dust flying.
Yeah. Any cons?
Well, another pro is I like it's kind of cool, like that. I don't know if I don't know if you took the picture off my phone. Like when it's dark, it's pretty cool to see the lighting up because it's almost like sheer kind of thing too. And then the other pro is when the fans are running, it's kind of cool because all the fabric kind of not shimmers but like waves, or whatever. Movement. Yeah. So that's kind of neat.
I think because also we have so many other hard surfaces in here. Like we have a concrete floor, we have the shiplap walls, we have tiling, and heavy wood furniture and things like that. It just kind of softens the space up too.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Any cons to it?
I don't know if it's a con, but I think you've said it too. Like, I wish we could have, would have, should have. I think we could have drooped it a little bit more because it's somewhat fairly tight, but drooping it created the weird lines and the overlap. Because again, we didn't sew all the seams together. So I think you pointed that out in some of the videos, but they're not sewn together. We did tape a few where they weren't holding together, but the longer the strips got and the more swoop you put in, the more the gap between the fabric was very obvious and showing. So we didn't really want to be able to see through to the ceiling necessarily and things like that. So we did have to kind of tighten it up just to keep those seams and overlaps tighter. But I don't know if that's a con. I mean,
yeah, somebody had another friend of ours had mentioned that like, well, won't it get really dusty or this or that? It doesn't look like it's getting dusty or anything like that. So it seems like, and I think because it's kind of a slippery fabric, things kind of fall off of it. The only thing is the lovely stink bugs. We have a couple stains in an area, which I'll show you all, but
yeah, I'm hoping those go away more and more over time because we continue to seal better. We continue to find gaps or whatever in walls or mostly doors. It's mostly that big door, but as we continue to seal it, this year the bugs weren't nearly as bad as last year, which is good. We're going in the right direction. But yeah, I think I don't know if they get stung by wasps or eaten or whatever happens, but we do get little drips every once in a while, we've noticed, unfortunately. So we're hoping that doesn't continue to get crazy. It's not bad yet, but first off, like, as soon as that weather starts changing, I was like, where'd that little spot come from? And then I think we realized it's from bugs or whatever that might be up there or whatever.
Yeah.
Not to say that we have a ton of bugs running our house. It's normal. We live in the woods.
And in a barn that's not... like you said, we're working on sealing it more and more and more as we see like little spots that possibly need sealed up. But
well, and we found like Not that we're always about spraying and all that kind of stuff, but it's a metal barn, so we can't spray it for stink bugs either because it's metal. It's not going to soak in or do anything, so there's not much preventative we can do for them. Anyway.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else to add. Do you have anything else to add?
I loved the side projects that we got out of it. So the old-fashioned tools.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you actually
Because
shown
we
that
had
in
the
video.
scissor lift.
Yeah, so with the scissor lift, we had a ton of like antique tools and stuff like that, both mine and both with the property that when we got here. So we were able to display those up on the corrugated metal wall, so that was pretty cool. And I actually love the accent wall for what is a future art installation.
Yeah.
No. I don't know if you've shown that part, but
I showed framing it out.
yeah, like framing it, even the framing looks really cool, and it's just going to be like, all right, that installation's going to be, I mean, it's going to be crazy, but
that'll come probably in the springtime because
not now.
The bubble is back in the camper. It's gotten cold here, or not back in the camper. The bubble's back. The camper is back in the pole barn.
Yeah.
Bubble's back in the pole barn.
We're indoor camping now.
Yes. So.
Yeah, but that wall, I don't know, it just looks cool, and I you can picture it being a huge gallery, not a gallery, but a huge install or whatever. I think it's going to be cool.
Yeah.
And it'll really add a finishing touch because it's the last exposed wall other than the door, which I think we're just going to paint. But overall, I mean, it looks pretty good. I can't say I'm 100% happy with it. And
what aren't you happy with?
It didn't match what I had in my
vision.
head. And I think that, again, goes to more of swooping, more of a softer flow versus kind of tighter. But it didn't seem like we were able to accomplish that very well. It's done. One more project done, we can maybe have some more fun instead of working.
But you're happy with it and you do it again.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's, yeah.
That's the important part, I think.
Based on the choices we have, it's definitely one of the better choices, in my opinion.
All right, good. Anything
Sure.
else to add?
Nope.
All right. All right, guys, that's it. I think this is the last, fourth and final video discussing the ceiling project. Do hope you guys liked coming along for this kind of mini series. And yeah, hope you liked it. If you did, thumbs up, please. Really does help us out. If you have any questions, like I said, let us know down there below in the comments. Yes?
I have a question.
What's the question?
What kind of series was this? Is it like a drama or rom-com? Murder mystery?
No, nobody got murdered.
Sci-fi?
No. It's like a comedy / drama.
Com-dram?
Something like that.
I don't know. Never thought of it as a series.
It's a 4-part series here.
It felt like 10.
Anyways, we're rambling. We're going to let you go in case you haven't already tuned us out by now. But anyways, yeah. Thanks for coming along. Give it a thumbs up. And yeah, we really appreciate all you watching and hanging in with us. So we'll see you on the next one.
Hit that subscribe button, too.
Yes, please do so.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Peace.